are now experiencing the digital life with Kevin Lockett.
We're about the same age. I remember when you were either a Michael Jackson person or a Prince person, and I was both because I like music. What do you think made those two so special? Almost 25, 30 years after their peak, I mean, people are still captivated by them. You know, Prince was on a reward show recently. It was almost like, oh, my God, it's Prince, even though he hasn't had a hit song in years. What do you think was it about Michael and Prince that still makes them so special today?
I mean, for starters, it's just, plain old talent. But in a weird way, I almost see it as the kind of Beatles-Stones division of our generation, in a sense, because they, as soon as MTV hit, and as soon as there was, Michael Jackson was huge prior to MTV, and Prince was big prior to MTV. But they also kicked it up a notch, both of them, in the era of sort of visual music. As soon as the Billie Jean video got on, and as soon as Purple Rain got everywhere, that kind of image making was gigantic. And this is in the book as well. Amir says that, and I think this is true, if we had been 15 years, 20 years older, rather, there's a Beatles-Stones division. The Beatles are maybe, considered more, at that time, more artistic visionaries but less dangerous, or more of a studio creation. They didn't play as much live at a time. And I think there's a similar issue. You can't map it exactly, but there's a similar kind of thing with Michael Jackson and Prince, at least at that time. Michael Jackson he wasn't seen as a triple threat. He didn't really write his own songs, although he did do a lot of writing, but he wasn't seen primarily as a writer. He didn't play instruments primarily, though he could, demo things. But he was a singer and a dancer and a performer. Prince did everything else, right? He played guitar, and he wrote all the songs and played all the instruments if he wanted to. And I think kids, depending on your personality, got to pick which side you were on, or you could pick both. And I think, there was a point, there's all these stories about this rivalry, which I don't think they had any animosity toward one another, but as cultural figures, that Michael Jackson wanted bad to be a duet between them, and he sent it to Prince, and Prince wouldn't do it. There's another funny video you can find on YouTube of a James Brown concert, and he calls Michael Jackson up on stage, and Michael dances and sings, and then Prince happens to be there too, and he calls Prince up, and Prince plays some guitar, sings. Prince, of course, is brought to the stage on his bodyguard's shoulders, because that was the Prince mystique. He was physically smaller, so he always had these huge guys around him. And that's a weird moment at that point in time in our cultural life, because just who else was that size of star? That level of stardom. And I remember that period, 84 to 86, of course, very well, because I was, 13 to 15 years old. The two of them, Bruce Springsteen, really. I guess Prince, in a way, was a band, but he, not at that time, it was the Revolution, but he was perceived as a solo star. And it was just a great time to be a fan of pop music and great pop music, and to be able to sort of pick, of all of those acts, which ones best express your personality. I love Michael Jackson, but I picked Prince relatively early. And I have every Michael Jackson record. I have bootlegs. I've seen as many shows as I can. I have nothing bad to say about him at all. It's just that in that division, I lean toward Prince.
The Digital Life with Kevin Lockett.